You see, there's a shift that happens the moment you stop chasing her. It's not just silence, it's power. Most people underestimate how powerful distance can be. When you step back, you give her space to feel, to think, and to question. Because when you were always around, always calling, always texting, always trying to prove your worth, she didn't have to. You made it too easy for her. You gave her validation before she ever earned it. And when something comes too easily, people stop valuing it. That's human nature, but the moment you stop chasing her, everything changes. Suddenly, she feels the absence of your attention. She starts to notice the quiet, and that quiet becomes loud inside her mind. Why did he stop? Did he lose interest? Did he find someone better? Was I not enough? Those questions start to echo because your withdrawal disturbs her comfort zone. She's no longer in control of the dynamic you are. When you were chasing, she was in the position of power. She could respond when she wanted, give you breadcrumbs of attention, and still feel desired. But when you stop, you flip the script. Now you become the mystery. You become the question mark. And curiosity is one of the strongest forms of attraction. It makes her think about you when she didn't plan to. It makes her check your profile, reread your messages, remember moments she once dismissed. And the irony is, she begins to miss the very energy she once took for granted. This isn't manipulation, it's balance. Relationships only work when energy flows both ways. Chasing breaks that balance because it communicates that your time, your effort, your emotions are less valuable. But when you pull back, when you move into your own space, you communicate confidence without saying a single word. It tells her, I don't need your attention to feel complete. And that kind of selfish assurance is rare. It's magnetic. Now she starts to question her assumptions. Maybe she thought you'd never walk away. Maybe she assumed you'd always be available. But your silence forces her to face a truth that attention isn't guaranteed. And that's when she begins to feel the weight of your absence. She remembers your calm, your patience, your focus. She starts to wonder if she misjudged your worth. And suddenly the chase becomes hers. But here's the deeper truth. When you stop chasing her, it's not really about her anymore. It's about you. It's about where your energy goes, because chasing love drains you. It pulls you away from our purpose. It makes you forget who you are. The moment you stop, you reclaim that energy. You redirect it into your goals, your growth, your peace. You begin to build the life that attracts love naturally, not from desperation, but from abundance. And as you evolve, something beautiful happens. You stop needing her validation altogether. You realize that love shouldn't require you to lose yourself. You understand that the right person will recognize your value without you having to prove it. The woman who truly respects you will match your effort, not demand that you chase endlessly. So when you stop chasing her, don't think of it as losing her. Think of it as finding yourself again. Because that's where real attraction begins, when you stand in your own power, silent but certain, present but not needy. That's when she truly sees you, not because you forced her to, but because your absence reminded her what your presence was worth. And when that realization hits, the chase changes direction. But by then, you've already outgrown the need to be chased. You've learned the most powerful lesson of all, that love follows those who know their worth. When you stop chasing her, she starts to wonder, and that wondering is where the shift begins. You see, people get used to patterns. When you were always the one calling first, checking in, showing up, she got comfortable. She believed that no matter how little effort she gave, you'd still be there. You became part of her routine, predictable, safe, and maybe even a little boring. But the moment that energy disappears, something inside her stirs. It's not anger, it's confusion. Her mind starts searching for answers, trying to understand why your behavior changed. Did he stop caring? She asks herself. Was he pretending all along? Has he moved on? The silence makes her think more than your words ever did. Because when someone's always available, their presence becomes background noise. You notice it less. But when that presence fades, it echoes, it leaves space, and that space makes her realize how much of your energy she had been receiving without appreciating it. At first, she might dismiss it. She'll tell herself she doesn't care. She'll act like she's fine. But when she sees that you're not reaching out, not watching her stories, not checking in, something inside her shifts. It's not just curiosity anymore, it's emotional discomfort, because for the first time, you have become the question mark. And people are drawn to what they can't fully understand. This is the part most men don't realize. Women notice everything. Even when they act indifferent, they feel the change in energy. She'll start analyzing your silence, trying to decode it. Is he done with me? Did I push too far? Was I too distant? And that uncertainty becomes attraction. It's not about games or manipulation. It's about restoring balance. When she felt like she had you fully, there was no chase, no excitement. But now, your distance makes her want to know more. And here's where the deeper psychology kicks in. When you stop chasing her, you stop feeding her ego, and that's when her heart starts to engage. You see, attention feeds ego, but absence touches emotion. When you take away validation, she starts to feel instead of think. She remembers moments she once dismissed. She replays your words in her head. She wonders if she misreads your intentions. And that curiosity slowly turns into reflection. Maybe she realizes she took your kindness for granted. Maybe she regrets not valuing your effort. Maybe she starts to see the difference between attention that's freely given and attention that's earned. That's the beauty of space. It reveals truth. Because in your silence, she learns the real meaning of your presence. She might even try to test you liking your posts, sending a casual message, or finding excuses to reconnect. But this time, you're different. You're calm. You're grounded. You're not reacting. You're observing. Because once you stop chasing, you stop needing. You've stepped out of the emotional chaos and into self-control. And that shift, that energy of quiet confidence, is what pulls her in the most. Not because you're ignoring her, but because you're focused on yourself. You're no longer seeking her approval, you're living your purpose. You've become scarce, and scarcity creates value. What she thinks when you don't chase her is simple but powerful. At first, she thinks you've changed. Then she thinks she's lost you. And finally, she starts to realize she might have lost someone who genuinely cared. But by the time she reaches that realization, you've already evolved into someone who doesn't need her validation to feel complete. That's when she truly sees you not as someone desperate for her attention, but as someone confident in his worth. And that's when the power of not chasing her truly begins to work, not to make her come back, but to make you rise above the need for her to. See, most men think that chasing shows strength, but in reality, it shows neediness. It shows a lack of control. It says, I need you to choose me so I can feel worthy. And that right there is where attraction dies. Because true attraction isn't built on pursuit, it's built on presence. When you chase, you send a message that your happiness depends on her approval. You give away your power, you make her the prize while forgetting that you were one too. Every time you text first, every time you double message, every time you rearrange your plans to fit hers, you think you're showing love, but what you're really showing is desperation. And desperation never inspires desire. It inspires pity or worse, indifference. She might smile at your effort, but deep down she loses respect for it. Because she can feel when your actions come from need instead of confidence. When you stop chasing, you shift the energy entirely. You're no longer saying, I'll do anything for your attention. You're saying, my time and energy are valuable. I give them where they're appreciated. That's a different kind of message, one that speaks without words. And the thing about women is, they don't fall for what you say, they fall for what they feel asterisk. When your energy feels grounded, when it feels calm, when it doesn't seek validation, that's when you become magnetic. The moment you stop chasing is the moment she starts noticing. She begins to feel a void she didn't expect. She might even tell herself, he's changed. But what she's really feeling is the difference between being desired and being respected. See, chasing says, I'll lower my standards for you, but confidence says, I'll maintain my standards even if it means losing you, and that difference is everything. Neediness comes from fear, fear of losing her, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. But strength comes from acceptance, accepting that you can walk away if it doesn't serve your peace. When you operate from that space, your energy becomes unshakable. You don't argue, you don't beg, you don't prove. You simply let your silence and self-respect speak for you. And here's what's ironic, the less you chase, the more she feels pulled toward you. Because mystery creates attraction. When she can't predict you, when she doesn't know what you're thinking, she starts to imagine. She starts to wonder what's changed about you. She might even question if she misjudged your worth. That's when the dynamic shifts. You're no longer the one trying to earn her time. She's now trying to earn yours asterisk. But you don't stop chasing just to make her chase you back. That's not the point. You stop chasing because you've finally realized that you were never supposed to run after love. You were supposed to stand still and let what's meant for you recognize you. You were supposed to attract, not convince. Think about it. The most powerful people in the world don't chase. They attract. They move with purpose, with clarity, with calm. They don't beg to be noticed. Their energy demands it. And that's exactly what happens when you stop chasing her. You stop being the man who's desperate to be seen and become the man who is simply seen asterisk. So don't mistake silence for weakness. Don't mistake patience for indifference. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to stop running and let her feel the weight of your absence. Because when you stop chasing, you stop giving away your energy for free, you take your power back. You show that your value doesn't depend on who chooses you, it depends on who you choose to be. And that kind of strength, that kind of quiet confidence, that's what truly makes you unforgettable. When you stop chasing, you send a silent message, I'm not here to impress you, I'm here to be me. And that's when she begins to reflect. You see, words can be ignored, but energy cannot. When your energy changes, when your focus turns inward, when you stop seeking approval and start embodying calm confidence, she feels it. Even if you don't say a single word, your silence starts speaking volumes. It says, I'm no longer trying to convince you. I'm content with who I am. And that message, that quiet certainty, has more impact than 1,000 texts ever could. She starts to notice things she overlooked before. The way you used to make her feel safe, the way your presence carried peace instead of pressure. When you chased her, all she saw was effort, constant, restless effort. But when you step back, she starts to see depth, because silence reveals what noise hides. Suddenly, the calm confidence that you carry becomes intriguing. It makes her think, maybe I misjudged him. Maybe he wasn't trying to win me over. Maybe he was just genuine. When you stop chasing, you give her something she didn't expect: space to think. Most people don't realize how rare that is. In a world where everyone is trying to prove something, the one who doesn't try stands out the most. You become the exception, and that makes her curious. She starts wondering what changed in you, what made you stop needing validation. She begins to notice that your energy feels grounded, that you're not waiting on her response, that you're focused on your own path. And that shift, that self-assurance, makes her feel a mix of emotions: confusion, curiosity, even admiration. Because deep down, every woman respects a man who respects himself. When you stop chasing, you're not withdrawing love, you're reclaiming dignity. You're showing that your peace is more important than her attention. You're saying, without words, that you no longer operate from desperation. And that's a vibration she can feel, even from a distance. It's powerful, it's magnetic, it's masculine energy in its purest form, silent, certain, and self-contained. As she begins to reflect, she might replay moments in her mind, the times you showed up when she didn't expect it, the way you listened when she spoke, the consistency you offered when others gave excuses. And in that reflection, she realizes something: she had someone real, someone solid, someone who cared not because he wanted attention, but because he valued connection. And now that energy is gone, that realization hits differently. It doesn't create guilt immediately, it creates curiosity and then longing. Your silence becomes a mirror. It makes her look inward and question herself. Did I take him for granted? Was I too distant? Did I assume he'd never walk away? These thoughts don't come instantly, but they grow stronger with time, and the more she reflects, the more she starts to understand what your presence really meant. But here's the truth: you didn't stop chasing to manipulate her thoughts. You stopped because you realized that love isn't about chasing. It's about alignment. It's about two people meeting in the middle, not one person doing all the running. When you understand that, you stop begging for attention and start commanding respect. You stop living in fear of losing someone and start trusting that what's meant for you will stay. And the beauty of that mindset is, once you embody it, you never have to prove your worth again. She'll see it in the way you move, in your peace, in your confidence. And even if she doesn't come back, you've already won, because the real victory isn't in making her miss you, it's in realizing you no longer need her to. The silence that once felt heavy becomes your strength. It's not loneliness anymore, it's clarity. And in that clarity, you rediscover yourself. So when you stop chasing and she begins to reflect, understand that this is your transformation, not her test. You've evolved from seeking validation to owning your value, and that, more than anything, is what makes you truly unforgettable. She replays the moments you shared. She starts to remember your calm confidence. She wonders if she misjudged you, because now your silence speaks louder than your words ever could. That's the irony of it all. When you were trying so hard to be heard, she didn't listen. But when you stopped speaking, she finally started to notice. Your absence becomes the echo of everything you once said. Every message she ignored, every effort she dismissed, every piece of your presence she overlooked, it all starts coming back to her in waves. At first, she doesn't want to admit it. She tries to brush it off. She tells herself, you're probably busy, probably distracted. But as time passes and your silence continues, she starts to feel it. It's not anger, it's not confusion. It's realization, because when something real disappears, you don't notice it immediately, you feel it in the stillness that follows. She starts replaying the conversations in her head, thinking about how you made her feel seen, how you listened without judgment, how you brought peace where others brought chaos. Those memories start to feel heavier now. She remembers the small things, the tone of your voice when you spoke, the way you looked at her, the consistency in your words. She starts to notice how different your energy was compared to others who came and went. When you were there, she had balance. She had attention that wasn't forced, affection that wasn't loud but steady. And now that it's gone, she begins to recognize its value. That's how it always happens. Clarity comes in silence. See, when you were chasing, she didn't have time to appreciate you. You were always there, always reminding her of your presence, so she never had to imagine life without it. But now she does, and that imagination turns into reflection. Did I take him for granted? Was he the one who actually cared? Did I mistake his patience for weakness? These are the thoughts that begin to haunt her late at night when the distractions fade. She starts to compare you to others, not because she wants to, but because she can't help it. The new people she meets don't have your calmness, they don't listen the way you did, they don't bring that quiet stability you once gave her effortlessly. And that contrast makes her realize something she didn't see before, that not everyone gives the kind of energy you gave. That your silence now is the loudest statement you could ever make. And here's the thing, your silence isn't a punishment. It's a boundary. It's you saying, I've said enough, I've done enough, and now I choose peace. And that peace becomes power. Because now you're not reacting, you're not explaining, you're not trying to convince anyone of your worth. You're simply allowing your energy to speak for you. And the truth is, when a man learns to control his reactions, he becomes unshakable. That's what makes your silence so profound. It's not empty, it's full of understanding. She begins to wonder what you're thinking, what you're doing, whether you've moved on or simply chosen yourself. That uncertainty is what changes the story, because when you were chasing, she was certain of your place in her life. But now you're the unknown, and the unknown is powerful. It pulls her thoughts back to you. It reminds her of what she lost, not because you left in anger, but because you left with grace. Your silence becomes a lesson, not just for her, but for you, a reminder that you don't have to shout to be heard, and you don't have to chase to be valued. Sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is made without a single word. Because the truth is, when your presence was taken for granted, your absence became priceless. And as she replays those moments, she'll start to see you differently, not as the man who tried too hard, but as the man who knew when to walk away. She'll realize that the calm confidence she once overlooked was actually strength in disguise. And by the time she understands that, you'll already be in a place where her recognition no longer defines your worth. Because your silence didn't just make her reflect, it made you rise. And here's what's truly powerful: when you stop chasing her, you start focusing on yourself. That's the moment everything changes, because when your attention shifts from her to you, your energy transforms. You stop living in reaction to someone else's behavior and start living in alignment with your own purpose. You begin to realize how much time, emotion, and mental space you had been giving away. And when you reclaim that energy, it feels like waking up after a long sleep. You start remembering who you were before the chase began, before the overthinking, before the need to prove your worth to anyone else. You start pouring that energy back into your goals, your health, your growth, your peace. And as you do that, something incredible happens. You begin to glow differently. Not in a superficial way, but in a real, grounded way that people can asterisk feel. Asterisk, your energy shifts from I need love to I am love. You stop waiting for someone to validate you, and you start validating yourself through action, through discipline, through purpose. You begin to build momentum in your life. You start showing up differently, more confident, more focused, more peaceful. See, the truth is, chasing someone drains you. It pulls you away from your own center. When your mind is constantly wondering what she's thinking, what she's doing, or whether she misses you, you lose touch with your own rhythm. But when you stop chasing, you regain control of that rhythm. You become intentional with your time. You start investing in things that actually bring fulfillment. Your passions, your work, yourself, care, your future. And that focus doesn't just change your life, it changes how people see you. When a man is grounded in his purpose, he radiates a kind of calm that can't be faked. You can see it in his posture, in his eyes, in the way he speaks. He doesn't rush, he doesn't beg, he doesn't chase. He moves with purpose, and that's exactly what makes him attractive, because confidence isn't loud, it's quiet. It's in the way you carry yourself when no one's watching. It's in how you handle rejection without losing your sense of worth. It's in how you choose peace over validation. And as you start focusing on yourself, the irony is, she starts to notice. She'll feel that your energy is different. You're not the same man who was always waiting on her response, always trying to make her see your value. You've detached not out of anger, but out of clarity. You're no longer driven by fear of losing her. You're driven by a vision of becoming your best self. And that energy is magnetic. People are drawn to those who are focused, fulfilled, and at peace with themselves. The beauty of this shift is that it's not about revenge or proving a point. It's not about making her regret losing you. It's about understanding that your value was never supposed to depend on anyone else's recognition. The more you grow, the less you crave external validation. You begin to see that love flows naturally to those who love themselves deeply. The relationships, opportunities, and people that belong in your life will start to align with you effortlessly because your energy has changed. When you stop chasing and focus on yourself, you begin to build a life that reflects who you truly are. You realize that your peace is priceless, your time is sacred, and your attention is a gift. Not everyone deserves access to it. You start protecting your energy the same way you protect your goals. You move with standards, not desperation. You act with purpose, not impulse. And that's when true power returns, when you can look in the mirror and say, I don't need anyone to complete me. I complete myself. That's when the chase truly ends. Not because you've stopped caring, but because you've started living. Because the man who stops chasing doesn't lose love. He becomes the kind of man who attracts it naturally without ever having to run after it again.